Ladies and gentlemen, admirals and generals, take note. I give you your new Secretary of Defense.
Well, first of all, you got to fire. You got to fire the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and you got to fire this. I mean, obviously, you're going to bring in a new Secretary of Defense, but any general that was involved, general, admiral, whatever that was involved in any of the DEI woke, it's got to go. Either you're in for war fighting, and that's it. And that's the only litmus test we care about.
A Secretary of Defense whose only concern is warfighting? Boy, ain't that refreshing. This is deeply personal for me. Also on the backs of Matt Gaetz getting named as Attorney General, the next 4 years are going to be lit. And while Gaetz, look, he ruffles a bunch of feathers, okay, and he will do a phenomenal job because he just is all for tearing down this deep state, I cannot understate the importance of Pete Hegseth being installed at the Pentagon on a global stage. Okay, look, full disclosure, I'm friends with Pete. I've known him back when he was at the veteran nonprofit CV4A. I am willing to stick my neck and anything else out for this guy because I think he is a great choice based on not only his values, but his ability. I mean, first off, this is a huge upgrade from, well, this guy right here who thought diversity was our greatest strength. Said no one who's ever been on a battlefield ever. But the media, and honestly, Rhino Republicans and Democrats, they're all apoplectic over Pete getting chosen. Elizabeth Warren, who, by the way, has never also set foot on a battlefield, said, a Fox and Friends weekend co-host is not qualified to be the Secretary of Defense. I lead the Senate Military Personnel Panel. All three of my brothers in uniform. I respect every one of our service members. Donald Trump's pick will make us less safe and must be rejected. I mean, do you want a medal, lady? I mean, in your opinion, based on what? Your short haircut? Honestly, what are you basing these comments on? All right, you know what? I tell you what. Listen, Pocahontas, you lied about being an Indian. You supported Lloyd Austin, who was the architect of the Iraq withdrawal that created ISIS, by the way, and then confirmed him again to be SecDef in charge of the Afghanistan withdrawal that got Americans killed. How about you sit this one out, okay? Joy Reid also took a shot.
Moments ago, Trump announced that he has selected Fox Weekend morning show host, you can't make this up, Pete Hegseth, to serve as Secretary of Defense, because why not?
You can't make it up. You also left out combat veteran from Iraq and Afghanistan, 2 Bronze Stars, and led the charge on VA accountability mission that saved veterans' lives. But yeah, clown car. That's rich coming from someone who works for MSNBC, whose ratings have basically taken a 50% dump in the last week. And the people your party appointed were so star-spangled awesome. Joy Reid, what world-renowned experts did your cabal appoint? Hey, let's look at some of those. A man pretending to be a woman to oversee our health department, Rachel Levine. Another man who doesn't think he's a man, who wears lipstick. Stole a bunch of women's luggage from airports. Y'all put them in charge of nuclear waste. The mayor of a small town that couldn't fix a pothole, who they appointed to Secretary of Transportation because he was gay. That took 2 months off for paternity leave for a child he didn't father during a supply chain crisis. Jennifer Granholm for energy, who knows absolutely nothing about energy. You could not have picked a worse person for that position. Anthony Blinken, who was Secretary of State, he had a known Iranian spy in his inner circle, tried to cover it up, and then kept that woman in that position while they were investigating. You people invited topless trannies to the White House, drag queens strutting up and down aircraft carrier directs. You got cocaine at the White House. You still won't tell us who that belongs to. I mean, you know who it is. Election's over, you can probably say now. You had woke generals like Milley wanting to understand white rage, while commanders in the Navy mounted a scope on a rifle backwards, then fired rounds off into oblivion, looking like he's never shot a gun before. I'm sure Iran was really shaking in their boots. And all the while, they told us, the adults are back in charge, and decency is on the ballot. You are damn right decency was on the ballot, and it won. Hard pass from any of you. None of your advice even resonates with me right now about who should be running our government anymore. Daddy's home. Your boy, Lloyd Austin, 2 regional wars broke out and China almost invaded Taiwan while he didn't tell anyone he was going into a major surgery. No one knew where he was for days. The fact that you don't like Pete Hegseth makes him even a better choice, Joy Reid. You can go back to your New York City McMansion with your $1 million payday or multi-million-dollar payday and enjoy the safety brought to you by the men, women who get shot at to ensure it. Most of which are thrilled about Pete Hegseth at the helm. You know what? I tell you what, lady, God forbid you ever get taken hostage by like Somali pirates or whatever. Who do you want in charge of your rescue? Do you want who do you want in the ranks, like coming to get you? Seriously. You want a bunch of lipstick-wearing drag queen they-thems that spent 50% of their time in HR training for sensitivity? Or you want a bunch of people like me who couldn't care less about your pronouns but are really good at killing bad guys because we spent all of our time on the range training to do exactly what your life would depend on in that second? Bet you're thinking diversity isn't our greatest strength at that moment, huh, Joy? It's time to get serious, folks. With CNN, nope, they won't do that. They're running wall-to-wall clips of Pete saying super rational stuff.
I'm straight up just saying we should not have women in combat roles. It hasn't made us more effective, hasn't made us more lethal, has made fighting more complicated. We've all served with women, and they're great. It just, our institutions don't have to incentivize that in places where not traditionally, over human history, men in those positions are more capable.
Yeah, I second this. Look, nothing against you ladies out there, but for the same reason a woman has never been able to cut it in the NFL, I have never met a woman that can punch a man hard enough in the chest to grab his spine. Oh, Carl, there are men that can't do that either. Yup, there are. They're called white dudes for Harris. And you know what? They shouldn't be in combat either. Not if we want to win wars. Even an NPR study, NPR agrees with me. Quote, the study found all male units outperform mixed gender units across the board in the military. There. Experiment over. Yet all the estrogen over at Caitlin Collins' show on CNN thinks that's a bad thing because my feelings are hurt. From the party screaming, follow the science, who ironically can't define what a woman is. My entire production team is women. None of them want to go to combat. The DOD is in the business of killing bad guys with floating nuclear-powered cities that go as fast as a jet ski, with planes that go 3 times the speed of sound flying at 65,000 feet, rockets, missiles, and bombs that can turn an entire country into Lake America by breakfast, and gritty, offensive, tattooed, testosterone-ridden, meat-eating, flag-waving, angry fighters that are willing to kill a man with their bare hands for threatening their country's way of life. War is not a social experiment. Pete Hegseth understands that. That's why I support him. And our enemies notice that too. I know it drives you liberals insane, but like I said, if you've never traded lead, I have approximately, give or take, 0 patience for your opinion on who should be running the department that does. This is not a position that should be concerned with what John Q. Public thinks. He just shouldn't. It was no one who's ever traded a bullet or had one whiz past their head or never signed up to serve. I don't really care what you think about this. I don't. There's a lot of positions that might warrant relevant criticism from the average American, but not Secretary of Defense. And this is what Trump has done so well this go-around. Last time he appointed a bunch of people from all corners of the GOP, even people who hated him, to try to bring party unity. And most of them stabbed him in the back. People that the deep state machine said were the experts, you know. Yes, look, Trump accomplished a lot in his first term, but now he is completely unbridled of that chapter. He has loyal people. It doesn't matter what the media, what they scream about, or people would put on their TikTok. They can shave their heads, they can stop having sex with men, or whatever weird trend is happening right now. But this is happening, folks. We are bringing back the Sebastian Gorkas, the Stephen Millers, the Dan Scavinos, and all the other people that had Trump's back from day one. In the Senate, John Thune, who's the newly elected leader as of like 2 hours ago, you better make this happen, dude. Because I don't care about his affairs that you're going to try to dig up or something that he said that gave Lockheed Martin the SADS. You better push these people through or you will be primaried. All of them. I'll push all of them through, whether you like them or not. Yes, most of the people he is nominating don't care about the system and are here to burn it down. Or they don't care about the way it's supposed to work in Washington. And that is precisely what Trump wants. That is why Trump won. So GOP, if you're thinking about holding out on anyone, reconsider everything about your life and on how the system works, because this is happening. It's being torn down. You can either help or you can get torn down with it. It's binary. America's back, baby.
He loves the Constitution. He fights for what's right. He hates the bad guys. He's a freedom warrior. He's your freedom warrior. Watch Carl Higbie every weekday on Newsmax.